All right. I am so stoked to be joined with ReShonda, who is our founding Primalista in the United States of America. Hello, ReShonda.
Hello, Helen. How are you?
Really good. I'm really good. So it's about 8:30 Friday morning here in Australia. What time zone are you in?
I am in Central Time, so it's 7:30 p.m. here in the United States,
On Thursday.
in Iowa, on Thursday. Yes.
Yeah. I love time. The future's really good. Got to say, we've got a really good vibe to it.
Oh, good. Something
So,
to look forward to.
something to look forward to. Now, I'd love if you could tell us a little bit about you, ReShonda, where you are, how you came across Primal Alternative, and how long you've been with us.
Sure. So I, again, am in the United States, in Iowa specifically, and I had come across Primal Alternative as part of this primal health coaching program that I had gone through, and Helen had also gone through it. And the founder of the program was highlighting Helen and Helen's Primal Alternative brand, and it really aligned with some things that I was looking at doing. I had started a popcorn business that grew into a popcorn franchise that ended up being in several states around the United States, and it really didn't align well with my health goals, and the fact that for, I mean, most of the product, it was my product, but I wouldn't actually eat it myself because I knew better, health wise, and so it just became an issue for me where I just really had to come to a point of saying, like, all money's not good money, and if I'm doing something that I know is like potentially harming other people, then I need to look at something different to do. And I know a lot of people kind of looked at me and thought I was probably a little crazy for getting out of the business. But at the end of the day, I need to be able to reconcile with myself that I've done the things that I need to do to make the world and leave the world a little better than what it was when I came here. And that wasn't serving that purpose for me.
Wow. And, you and I have been friends for a couple of years now. I think it's coming up to 2 years. It was around, I remember you popped into my diary, I think in February 2018, just after Christmas. And I'd love if you could share
Yes.
that story of, so you'd been looking at wanting to book an interview with me, but my diary was just like blanked out and you couldn't get a time. And then tell us that story, because I love that story.
Yeah, so I looked, and yeah, your diary was full. So I couldn't get an interview, and I thought, oh, okay, well, I'm not even gonna worry about it. And then you sent out an email that you had an opening, and it was like, I don't know, maybe the next day. And so I quickly jumped on to book the interview. I guess I was just being a little impatient. I'm like, oh, I want to, if I can't get her now, then forget it. And then came along the email, and we were able to connect, and it was just a natural fit from the beginning.
No, it really was. It really was a natural fit from the beginning. I remember when your face popped on, because to be honest, and I said this to you in the interview, didn't I? I was like, oh, someone from the US. This was early on in the piece. We'd only really been launched as a license for a year, and I really wanted to focus on Australia because you always hear, these stories on like Dragon's Den and Shark Tank of these businesses who try and target the US before they've actually proved a concept and developed the brand in their own country. And I was really cautious not to do that. But I thought, oh, you know what? You're a primal health coach like me, as you'd put on your form. It can't be hard to have a chat. And as soon as your face popped on the screen, we just had this great connection, didn't we? And I'm quite happy to share that you
We
and
did.
we're friends. We talk on Voxer. We have little messages going backwards and forwards, which doesn't matter what the time zone is. We can pick it up and listen to it whenever it works. And I find you so inspirational as a businesswoman and what you've done, and just the story that you've just shared about moving away from a very successful franchise, which was making you a lot of money, to move away from it because it wasn't aligned with your values around food and health is very inspirational. So hats off to you.
Thank you.
So
Thank
cool.
you very much.
So cool.
Yeah.
So you were the first ever Primalista in the US. Can you tell us a little bit about what was the response like to our products? Are there people in America who are looking for grain-free breads and pizzas and pastries and the like?
There are a lot of people who are looking for grain-free breads and pastries. A lot of people who, I say, especially with COVID and people just really happen to be more focused on their health. People are wanting to purchase things that are going to be more in line with making sure that they are healthy, in case they are to get sick. You know, just knowing that coming into coming into COVID potentially, it's just going to fare much better with you if you're already healthy. And so, you know, what we put in our bodies is incredibly important, and people are looking for something that's better than most of the things that you're going to find in a regular commercial store.
Cool. That's awesome. Now, one of the things that we're just still developing in our new territories is, suppliers. So, in Australia, for example, we, I can give you a list. This is where to get your almond meal from. Get your cellophane, compostable bags from here. But we obviously haven't built that. Knowledge bank yet in the States. Did you find it was relatively straightforward to find a viable, cost efficient source for the ingredients? Because obviously the prices are set by Primal Alternative. So were you able to find cost effective ingredients and to make the product profitable?
I was. So, like you said, there wasn't any guidance as to, okay, well, you can go to the supplier, but it really was not very difficult. I don't know how prevalent Walmart is in Australia, and it actually wasn't the place that I thought I'd be going to get, you know, organic almond meal or anything like that. But it it's actually as easy for a lot of the products as walking into a Walmart, because I know that there's some communities still where you may not have a Whole Foods or a Natural Grocers or some of these specialty health related stores, but you know, Walmart, or if you've got a Target store or an Aldi's, those particular brands, I mean, or those particular companies, they also have a lot of the organic ingredients that we're looking for at good prices.
Perfect. Well, that's good to know for sure. And we will develop obviously that knowledge bank of suppliers as well as we grow across as we grow across the States. So what I found in the 4 years that Primal Alternative has been running as a license, that there's two kind of types of Primalista. One is the Primalistas who do this as a bit of a hobby that pays, and the other Primalistas are the ones who make like a full-time business of it. Which category would you fall into, do you reckon, ReShonda? And can you tell us a little bit about the places you've had success selling your products to?
Sure. So I still say I fall into part-time. I still have some other things that I'm doing. And so it is part-time. I have found a lot of success at the farmers markets. I also have found success online, and then just selling to friends, family, church members, just people who know what I'm doing. And then there's the word of mouth, of course. So, you know, you'll have someone from church or from a farmer's market who has had the product and they're telling someone else, and you've got more orders.
So cool. So I know you told me a really cool story about some of your cousins were eating some of our choc chip cookies, and they're not, like this brand has been developed to meet the needs of people who've already transitioned over. You know, they've already made this conscious decision, I'm not going to eat grains and industrial seed oils and sugars anymore. And they normally would make this food themselves, but sometimes they're just looking for a quality outsource, right? Because you can't do everything yourself, my goodness, especially if you're changing the world in many ways with all of your other projects as you are. So could you tell us a little bit about what the sort of, if you like, kind of mainstream audience who wouldn't normally be interested in a grain-free, gluten-free product, what's the feedback been about how our products taste?
So for like the chocolate chip cookies, people don't know that they're grain free. You know, they are super, super good. And people seem to, I mean, they really love those cookies. In terms of the different breads, I actually tried um, a few of them on one of my friends who is quite picky, and he did not know the difference. Like, he did not know that they were grain free. He knew it was different than what he's used to eating, but he didn't know what that difference was. He just thought it was good.
That's good. I love it when, yeah, like my advice, people always ask me, how do I get my family to eat grain free? And I say, just don't tell them. Just don't tell them. Just give them delicious food.
Right.
Yeah, right. It's a lot more
Yeah.
straightforward. That just do it. Just slip it in. No one will know. I love that. That's very
In
cool.
there.
So my next question is with regards to the health department. So obviously this business model is designed to be baking food from home, from a domestic kitchen, that you don't need to do anything major to. You know, you don't need to suddenly transform it into a commercial kitchen and have stainless steel benches or anything, but you do need to get your kitchen approved by the health department. So how was that process for you? Was it fairly straightforward, or was it really hard to do?
For me, it was super simple. I I really just had to make sure that I had basically a 3 compartment type of a sink deal. And that right there will kind of scare some people, but all you really need is your regular sink and then a basin as well that you can rinse, just rinse the dishes. And so that could just be, like, for me, a big silver bowl that I had. And so that's my basin. Making sure that you have the uh, like you have a section of your cabinet space or refrigerator that's solely, like, you only need like a shelf that's solely devoted to the ingredients. And so it was not very, very difficult at all. It may have been a little more difficult if I would have had pets. I'm not sure, because I know there's something in the application that we have about uh, like pets and how they have to, like, be separated, I guess, from the food area. But other than that, it was super, super simple.
Yeah,
Yeah,
perfect.
the whole process was super simple. I think probably it did not take more than, the health agent was not in my house more than 20 minutes.
Yeah, it sounds very similar to the experience that we've had with the other. So with the 3 Primalistas now in the US at the time of recording, which is October 2020, and it sounds very similar to the process worldwide. So it's it's a fairly, just an administration process that you've got to go through with your local authority, and then a quick inspection. And the same deal with the bowls, but we've actually sourced a bowl in Australia that's like a basin, but it's got a plug at the bottom. It's like this really cool thing. Like, ooh, that's the solution to the third bowl, hand basin thing. And also just on the pets thing, we've got the same thing here, and pretty much everyone's got a pet, right? Apart from you don't have a pet. Everyone else has got a pet.
I know.
You need to get a cat or a dog or something. And the the deal is, you've just got to close the door and put the cat in a different room when you're producing. So it's not hard. It's not hard to overcome, which is cool. So I guess sort of just coming to the end of the interview, but what I'd love to know just from you, do you definitely feel that there's a market for the primal alternative products in the US, outside of Iowa? Obviously, the US is a massive market. Do you feel that there's enough people out there that are sourcing a grain-free, paleo, keto, low-carb option?
Absolutely. So I would actually even go as far as to say if I could make this work in Iowa or the Midwest in a sense, then people could probably make it work almost anywhere because in the middle of the country is not we're not known for being the healthiest of of the people within the United States. And so if there's a market here, which there is, then I'm very confident that in other areas you're definitely going to find a market. But then also just knowing that you're going to have family and you're going to have friends who are in different locations. And so, you know, I don't feel like I'm stuck and restricted to just Iowa. I've got family in Mississippi, which is, 800 miles away, and they order from me on a regular basis. So I think definitely there is a market. I even think I know there's a market. And especially with a little more marketing, because in all honesty, Helen, I had not even said this to you, but after a while, like with some of the other things I was doing, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have got to pull back on a little bit of my marketing because I can't really handle it. And so absolutely, yes, there's a market.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that. And that's the reason we don't have on the website, it doesn't say shop the US store because there's just you. And I know because I get asked a lot because, I've appeared on some American podcasts where I've got a bit of like an American following that follow, me in Australia. And I know that if I say, here, order in the US, you would just you'd be smashed. You would be overwhelmed. So what I want to do is develop a bit of a network. And this is exactly what we did in Australia. We waited until we had 10, 20 plus producers. Then we said, right, now let's get a shop. Now we can handle orders. Because the thing, and you're right, with a license, you're not just limited to there's no territory. You're not just like your town in Iowa. You have a global license. You can sell anywhere in the world. And with the packet mixes and the granolas, which have got a longer shelf life, the cookies travel really well. You can ship it out to whoever you like. Even though there's probably enough business right on your doorstep, but you can send it wherever you want, which is really cool.
Definitely.
Yeah. So in terms of producers in the US, you know the market better than me. You're there, you've done it for the last 2 years. What sort of person do you think that this license would suit?
So I would say anyone who loves to bake. That's one thing. Even though we've got the packet mixes, still like you're going to want to try everything. So for yourself even. So someone who loves to bake, someone who really appreciates a healthier lifestyle, a healthier, more high quality food than what we generally find in a regular grocery store. You're gonna just someone who either wants to make just some part-time income, kind of just a little bit here and there. You may only want to work 4 or 5 hours a week and make a little extra just to be able to, for whatever it is that you want to do. Or for that person who is looking for something more full-time, because just as I said, I pulled back on some of my marketing because I'm like, oh gosh, I can't do all this. There's a market out there. So for somebody who wants to and is able to do full-time even, it's a good opportunity because you can make your own schedule. You decide who you want to work with, and it's just a really nice opportunity.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we've got three primalistas now in the US. I mean, I know it's a bit sort of pie in the sky, but do you have a figure in your head of how many primalistas we could have across the United States of America?
So this was something that we had discussed I don't know, maybe over a year ago, and it was late at night, and I'm like, I really think that we could have at least 600 in the United States. I mean, we've got 50 states. That's only 12 per state. um, that's doable. That's doable. And of course, there's some states bigger than others. And I think that's actually a low number, to be perfectly honest. But in my head that night, I'm like, oh, we can have 600 people in the United States, and you wouldn't be stepping on one another's toes.
Yeah, no, it's true. And as we're seeing now, we're getting more producers in each state. I think we've got about 17 producers in Victoria, which is a state in Australia, and there's 5 million people live there. And I was just thinking, that's not very many. You know, when you think about some primalistas are flat out, they only want to do 2 or 3 days a week, and they've got 2 stockists that order a lot. That's them busy. That's just 2 shops. When you think about all the cafes, health food shops, stores, grocery stores, your online shop, your farmers markets, like you have mentioned, you've had good success at, plus your network of family and friends who may not necessarily label themselves as paleo or keto, but they've got digestive issues and they're trying to avoid gluten and they're trying to avoid dairy and they're trying to reduce sugar. Like it's huge, right?
Yes,
The potential.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool. And what I love, so I interview everybody that wants to be a producer, and I do have US friendly interview times in my diary. But I know that quite a lot of our producers, potential producers, want to talk to you, ReShonda, because you've done it in the US, you know the market, and you're quite happy to have that conversation with people if they want to talk to both of us, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So if we wanted to follow you, ReShonda, where could we find you on the web, in social media land?
You can find me on Facebook, and it's just ReShonda Young, which is ReShon, as in Nancy, D as in David, AYOUNG. So you can find me there, and if you connect with me or send me a messenger, then I will immediately get that.
Perfect. And have you still got your Primal Alternative USA Instagram page?
Yes.
Cool. So Primal
Yes. So
Alternative
there's,
USA. If you just search Primal Alternative USA, ReShonda will come up and you can follow her there too.
yes.
Wonderful. Well, do you have any final comments or final message that you want to leave our viewers, listeners with before we wrap up today?
Yeah, I think that there's no better time than like right now. If you're looking at, doing something extra, this time has just really shown me that it's always good to have kind of a backup plan. It's like I've known that, but this has just really shown me that you really want to have something extra on the side in terms of a source of income. And if at all you enjoy baking and you want to make some extra money doing it on your own schedule, the time is just prime for doing that right now.
Perfect. And just another question that's popped up from what you've just said there. How have your sales gone through COVID? Have you noticed an increase, a decrease? Have you still been able to take orders and get the products to customers?
Yes. So honestly, when COVID first hit, I think there were a lot of people who were just kind of nervous, and they kind of pulled back for probably like 3 weeks. And then after that, because it's been since COVID that I've had to say, oh, I gotta slow down on the promotion because I can't keep up. Um, it's it's definitely been good sales even through COVID, and I'd say probably even better because people are just becoming more health conscious.
Yeah, perfect. And before we wrap up, just tell us about some of the other amazing projects that you're doing and things that you're doing in the world. I know you said Primal Alternative is part-time. You've got a lot of other things that you do as well. Tell us a little bit about what you do when it's not Primal Alternative.
So yeah, when it's not Primal Alternative, I love to mentor teenagers or preteens. So I have a group of girls that I mentor and spend quite a bit of time with. I also mentor small business owners, and so that's another piece of what I do because it can be pretty difficult at times to um, get a business started, grow that business. A lot of times you feel like you're on an island. And so I mentor and coach small business owners. And then I'm also, as I had mentioned a couple of months maybe ago, I'm also in the process of starting a financial institution. So,
I
yeah.
just love you. Of course you are. I know when you told me that news, I was like, yeah, of course she is. Yeah, no, yeah, that is something ReShonda would do. Like, sorry, this financial institution situation isn't quite good enough. We can contribute in a
Not
different
working.
way and do it better. Love it. Women changing
Yeah,
the world. And I think of
that's
you.
right.
It's so cool. It's so cool. I know I keep saying it's the end and then you just keep inspiring more questions from me. So I know you've got a wealth of knowledge. You know, I look up to you and I ask a lot of questions to you as somebody who's already created their own. You were a franchisor. You already created a franchise. It was successful. People bought it. You made a lot of money. And that's amazing. And so I can see why you are a mentor to small businesses, knowing what it's like to start a brand from scratch versus buying like the Primalist license for somebody who perhaps doesn't want to reinvent the wheel, doesn't have the inclination to start a brand from scratch. What are the advantages of buying a low cost license like the Primalist license versus starting on your own from nothing?
Oh, there are so many advantages. That's why I ended up, when I heard about you, Helen, is why I said, oh, I don't need to recreate this. I've done this creation thing before. And although it's fun, it is a lot of work. It's a lot more money than what the Primalista license. It's so much more money what the Primalista license costs. And just, the little details of things that we don't think about, like even just labels, like getting your nutrition labels, that's a big deal. You try and do those things on your own and you're getting your ingredients and the system down. You could spend tens of thousands of dollars just trying to get a brand up and going. And then you have to, start to get that brand recognized. And buying into the Primalista license was so nice because I didn't have to do all that. I'd done it before. Like I said, it's expensive. It's a lot of work. And I was really thankful that H had already done it for me.
Perfect. Now you're
Thank you.
you're in the States on your own. You know, there's a lot of producers. There's currently, in October 2020, there's 121 active producers across the world, majority in Australia, one in New Zealand, two in the UK, three in the US. Do you feel a bit on the outer because, it's mostly happening in Australia, it's different time zones, or do you feel part of something bigger, like a community outside just your part-time Primal Alternative business?
Oh, definitely. The network of Primalistas is, I mean, it's an amazing network. And so the social media group is very active. If you have questions, I mean, I can go in and ask a question if I need to, and somebody's going to answer. More than one somebody is going to answer that question. And the world has become so much smaller because of social media and technology. So even though, I may have a question at 8 o'clock at night in the States, it doesn't matter. Somebody's probably up, and can answer my question pretty quick. It's really just an amazing network. And the way that you've created the culture, Helen, I think is really awesome, because it's a culture of collaboration instead of a culture of, like, the crabs trying to pull one another down. It's everyone seems to be uplifting to the next producer. And yeah, I don't feel like, I'm on the outskirts of anything.
Oh, that's good. That's good to hear. I love that. No, I love that. And I think the one thing I hear the most in interviews is, I don't want to step on anybody's toes. That's what everybody says. These are the places I want to sell my products to, and I don't want to step on anyone's toes. And that's the general vibe. And there is, like we said, we're nowhere near a saturation point in terms of producers. I feel like we're just getting started. So it's very exciting time to jump on board, especially hanging out with amazing, inspirational women like you, ReShonda. So thank you so much for your time today. It's cool to chat face to face. Normally we're just rabbiting onto each other in Voxer, blah, 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 blah. So this is amazing. Thank you so much for your time, and enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.